So this is, again, how I would approach this. I would, just like in triangulation, I would think about where I want to place the face, where the chin, the top of the head would be. Think about the left and the right side, which gives me kind of the placement for this. Gesturally, we can connect these ideas, showing the tilts of these different parts of the body. I can show how the face is tilting this way towards the chin, and then how that is moving over here. I think I got to give it a little bit more thickness. And the next thing I would go for is the temple bone, really trying to figure out where would that, and it's a very broad kind of a soft area. It doesn't have one point to it, but I can mark it like I did in here, just as a kind of the tilt of it and broad placement. And I want to think about which part of the forehead faces forward and where is the side of the face starts. So this is the side, this is the front part, and I can draw the eyebrows, which will allow me then to think about where's my chin bones. So I leave a little thickness for the bottom side of the chin. That already sets up a little plane on the bottom, a dimension for it. But this is where the face ends, on the bottom over here. So that's where I would measure from. Plus I have a hair in there. So, and then this gives me a third of the face. From the eyebrow to the chin, I can find a halfway point, and that will give me a base of the nose over here. And then if I find these two temple bones, I can find the center portion of it. And the center portion would be always slightly pushed over to the left. It's not exactly in the middle between these 2 points, because we're dealing with an arc that goes like that. This arc, imagine the center of this distance from here to here would be here. But this is like a bow and arrow. If I draw an arrow here, you'll see that the center is going to be pushed over quite a bit, because this form is turned to the side. So the same idea over here, maybe not quite as extreme, but this center is getting pushed over to the left a little bit.
Professor, what are you defining right now?
I'm trying to find the center line where the center of the forehead would be.
Okay, forehead. And I just wanted to throw out there, when you did the nose, the reason I mentioned recording it is because I always thought that third was the base, the beginning of the nose, but I never really thought of it as the base of the nose.
Yeah, this is where the nose attaches to the face. So I think that's exactly what you were mentioning.
And that would explain why my noses always seem too long, because I need to go upward there and show a plane of the cartilage.
Yeah, most people stretch out the nose because they think the nose is long, it's vertical, it's long. But the space between the nostril, this is what I always look for. Nostril to the eye bags, which is the bottom of the eye socket. This space in here, it's like 1 inch, pretty short. So you got to make sure that you don't make that too long. That's how you can double check your space. So here's the center line. It goes in, and then we want to think about the tip of the nose, where that is in relationship to our center line. It's slightly to the left. So I want to make sure that the tip of the nose is slightly to the left of that center line. And that allows me to then think about the angle of this side of the nose and that side of the nose to create the plane. And you see, I'm going through the inner corner where the light on the nostril meets the shadow of the nostril. So that's the plane of the nose, and that's already talks about movement and space, right? This is the bottom part of the nose that goes from this direction down to this direction. We're talking about the transitions of how this wraps around the form in space. And that allows us to double check the lines that we place. They're in relationship to each other, in relationships to that line of symmetry. Those are the large shapes that we set up. So, and then you move on to finding where would the cheekbone be, for example. You can draw it on both sides, just like we did with cross-hatching. The bottom of the cheekbone, these larger planes, you can see where the hair ends. It's kind of the bottom of the sinus pad, and it's also the bottom of this larger mass of the mouth barrel. We have a chin locks into it this way. This is the cheekbone. This is the top plane of that cheekbone, which is also the bottom of the eye socket. Here's the whale's tail as it wraps around the nose. Here's the side of the nose. Here's how that whale's tail wraps around. It's a pretty large mass over here, like so. Here's this eye socket on the other side. Let's draw them together. Now, in this picture, the left side is very monotone. It's in the shadow. In the shadow, we, and depending on how strong the contrast of the light, we don't see things very clearly in the shadow. In real life, our eyes would be able to look and see a lot better than what we see in a photograph. Photographs flatten things out, but you can see things clearly in the light. The strong light actually reveals the planes in the light very easily. So we have to use the information on the right side and the ideas of the symmetry to figure out what's going to happen on the left side. So as we find these planes over here, we want to translate them and think about where would they be based on that line of symmetry on the left side. Because we're not drawing shapes of light and shadow, we're trying to draw planes, the symmetrical structure that we see on both sides of the face. So here I see this front plane of the mouth and kind of mustache in here. And I broke it down in my 1 hour drawing into many sections of mustache and many sections of lips. Here how it wraps around. And here is the very strong inner corner of the bottom of the lip. And there's actually going to be a form that attaches to that bottom of the lip like this. The side planes, bottom plane. Now, if you are scratching your head and saying like, what's he talking about? I don't see any of that stuff. How am I supposed to draw any of that stuff? Any of you think that way?
Sort of.
Sort of. The way you do that is by analyzing these forms and looking closer at other examples. So you can look at the examples of my drawing or the examples that I posted for you of these other people's interpretations of things. And think about how do they treat this part of the lip over there and planes. When you see that, then you look at your face or the drawing of my face that we're doing, and you try to figure out, okay, well, do I see these changes in there? Do I see the changes that the light creates maybe? And you try to then dissect it. Can you see the light right here? Can you see the slightly different value over here? Maybe we can describe it differently. Maybe this is one value. And then we see the light shape over there. I see a little change over here. Why is this darker? Why is this? There's a slightly darker value right here. That's a good question. So we want to explore it and figure out what is actually happening in there. And I did that in our previous guy, actually. So we can start looking at the lips as a mass of these fatty pads for the lip here. Whoa. So in here we have a top plane for the lip. We have a plane that starts facing towards us a little bit. And we have the side plane of this fatty pad. But then we have a little bit of a plane right there on the side that faces up again and has this corner of the lip. And we can describe it even with more detail. And that's my particular lips. Everyone's lips will have very different, unique shapes. You can see the top lip fits into here and it has very clear side planes to the front. Slightly foreshortened on the left, wider on the right. Has another portion like this, and look, there's subtle overlappings that now we're creating in there. What's in front of what? And this starts to look realized not as lines, but as form. And because we're looking at it so specifically, then we can start justifying why do we put our contour lines in a particular place. We really examined it. We really looked at the angles through triangulation. We really figured out the distances where they should be. If we can learn how to analyze the face to this level of detail, then your eyes can do that for you later on in the drawings. You can just ask yourself, oh, where the plane changes happen? And you draw your contour lines with that in mind. Just like with mannequinization, where we sew geometry inside the body before we start doing the contours, wrapping around that geometry. Same thing happens with the geometry inside the face. And we wrap the lines. So if I go back and look at the nostril in here and I start wrapping around, I can think about the plane changes that happen in there, and I wrap it around the form. I wrap around this middle part this way. I wrap it around with the cartilage changes, in here, and I can construct that sense of the nose as a form. Cartilage. I don't have very pronounced bone change in there, but there's some little changes that happen. All right. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
Anyone?